They're Proud Boys. They're relatively organized randos who have a history of supporting violence against those they don't agree with. And if you're a school board member, if you have just been trying to serve, maybe for years, maybe for decades on your school board, you now are even at more risk of violence, harassment, and targeting. They're being very clear about that. By the way, I'm gonna jump ahead just slightly. One member, an InfoWars contributor with purported ties to the group, was pictured recently wearing a shirt that said, "Pinochet did nothing wrong." If you're not familiar with Augusto Pinochet, it's a former right-wing dictator of Chile who tortured, detained, and killed tens of thousands of his political enemies. Why do I mention that? Because again, there is a theme to the news this year, and it is there is no story that eventually won't involve a little essence, a little spice of approval of political violence. And so just a reminder that that is where America is moving, where we have some people who are just trying to maintain the status quo, regardless of the costs, some who are trying to move our government in a direction of actually identifying crises and dealing with them, and some who just believe that the main thing lacking in American democracy is enough people being beaten and killed. And that is coming across in so many stories, literally from protests for racial violence to should there be a mask mandate in an elementary school. You cannot escape the threats of violence these days. Okay, we have just moments left. So with that, why don't we jump into one last story? Here we go. We're gonna do this video.
We need nationwide boycotts of companies that don't believe in Republican and conservative principles. We're not going to buy their product if they're not going to buy our policy, if they're not gonna respect us. We're not gonna do it. Watch how quickly these companies will change if we do this, and we're going to boycott the media that doesn't treat us fairly.
Okay, so at the risk of potentially boring you, at the risk of potentially making the same point over and over again, is cancel culture an issue in America? Is the idea that you expect everyone to do exactly what you want, to say exactly what you want, to agree with everything you agree with, and if not, you will attempt to destroy them. Is that or is that not out of control? Because what Trump was just saying there is that if a business doesn't buy our policies, if they don't respect us, the most vague thing you can say, then we're going to boycott those companies. We are going to try to put them out of business. And he says later on in that little address that there are more of us than there are of them. Let's use our weight to drive them out of business. Now, I personally believe that if you want to boycott whatever business you want, that's on you. If you believe that a business stands for something that you think is wrong, if perhaps their business practices, their labor practices, their environmental practices are negative in some way or don't reflect on your values, you are perfectly free to not use that business, not purchase their products. But you cannot do that and then claim that cancel culture is a massive problem. What Trump is saying there is that these businesses have politics that is incorrect and they will not abide by it anymore. And that is the issue that I have been trying to push back on, mostly in a futile fashion for literally years now at this point, trying to get people to not accept the insane framing that happens, whether it's that political correctness is a problem, that cancel culture is a problem. Some people, maybe because they believe it's pragmatic, maybe they're just trying to be understanding or trying to present themselves as independent thinkers, have gone along with these narratives. The most recent one with cancel culture, all the way back into the 90s with political correctness, never seeming to understand or care how biased these narratives are. Because if you can claim that cancel culture is one of the biggest problems facing America, and then tell Republicans across the country to not purchase the services or listen to any media that doesn't, in a vague sense, respect you as a conservative, then you don't have the position on cancel culture that you claim that you do. Or you have some position, but you don't want to be clear about exactly what it is. I will be clear for them. Republicans are allowed to destroy things they don't agree with. Leftists should shut the hell up. I almost swore there. Should shut the hell up. You are not supposed to organize. You are not supposed to engage in boycotts. You are not supposed to care about the ethics of the businesses that you support or choose not to. But for Republicans, it's great. It's the best thing. Now, as one little bonus, I want to play an incredibly short little video that it's only a few seconds long, but I think it says so much.
You should save America's suburbs from Biden's CRT-inspired housing agenda.
What's that mean? The CRT inspired housing agenda is threatening our suburbs. You shouldn't allow their CRT thing to harm your suburbs. What do you think he means there? Do I need to make it clear? I think there's some people he doesn't want moving into your neighborhood. But he doesn't need to be clear because he knows the audience knows exactly what he means and they already love it. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for our show. I wish we had more, but hey, what do you know? We do have one more episode. We have a Friday episode where Brett Ehrlich joins us and we throw away some political garbage. And every week you get to have your voice be heard. You can go to the community tab on our YouTube channel and you can vote for the garbage person of the week. We'll be revealing that tomorrow. We basically always get 31 or 32,000 people who vote in that. Let's see if we can break that. But go vote. I can't wait to find out what it is. Lots of stuff coming up. Indisputable will be up in just a couple of minutes. You got Ravana with reactions later on. So much to look forward to. And I will be seeing you tomorrow morning. But until then, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richey. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day with me, none other than Senator Nina Turner, TYT contributor, former Ohio State Senator. Top story of the day. Kyle Rittenhouse, the killer, Kyle Rittenhouse, who has been given every break possibly imaginable by a lunatic judge. I have a case for it. Let me give you some background. Now, the Oscar-worthy performance was this. Here it is.
And there were three people right there.
Take a deep breath, Kyle.
That's what That's where I run.
We're going to just take time for our break anyway. You can just relax for a minute, sir. We're going to take a break about 10 minutes, and please don't talk about the case during the break. Read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, action. Did you see him look at the judge? Like, damn, judge, when are you gonna come save me? I mean, I'm putting on my best performance here. Now, Kyle Rittenhouse wants you to believe, and his defense attorneys, they want you to believe that everybody else was the boogeyman. But it was Kyle Rittenhouse who had the semi-automatic weapon. He's the scariest damn thing next to the police on those streets that night. It gets deeper. Now remember, this is the same judge who made a ruling in a motion saying that you cannot refer to the victims as victims, but you can refer to the victims as arsonists and rioters. Even the one that survived. By the way, nobody's been charged with anything like that, but you can refer to those who are dead as criminal, but you cannot refer to them as victims because it somehow just biases the jury against this poor young white killer, Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, this is the judge you're dealing with. The judge had another outburst because the prosecutor was trying to introduce relevant evidence. Here it is.
I didn't admit it in this case because to me, what I've heard in this trial, and by the way, Mr. Richards absolutely correctly points out that just hours ago, I said I had heard nothing in this trial to change any of my rulings. So why?
Testimony, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
That was before the defense
Don't
testimony.
get brazen with me. You knew very well. You know very well that an attorney can't go into these types of areas when the judge has already ruled without asking outside the presence of the jury to do so. So don't give me that.
I mean, damn, the judge is treating the prosecutor like the killer, treating Rittenhouse like he's a clerk of the court. What in the hell is going on here? I mean, he had none of that energy for the killer that's on the stand, who's crying his crocodile tears on cue. So now the judge does not want particular information introduced in front of the jury. We know exactly what he did not want the jury to be made aware of. Here it is.
It looks like one of them has a weapon. She hung up. Bro, I wish I had my car. I'd start shooting rounds at them.
Yeah, see, the judge did not want you to hear that. The judge did not want the jury in particular to hear that. This happened days before the fatal shootings. Rittenhouse and his friend were in a car watching people leave a CVS store across the street. Rittenhouse apparently believed the people leaving the store had robbed and maybe shoplifted. Okay, that was his personal belief. He's entitled to that. Then Rittenhouse said something quite telling. He said, and I quote, "I wish I had my AR. I'd fire some rounds at them." See, that's called murder. If you shoot someone for shoplifting, that's murder. That is murder. And the prosecution wanted to introduce this evidence as prior acts to prove a pattern and also to prove state of mind. Great, that is allowable. But in the judicial system, judges have wide discretion as it relates to these items. Very wide discretion. Okay, let me break this part down because I think it's very important, okay? There are people saying, well, this is all about self-defense, and if you can simply prove self-defense, Kyle Rittenhouse goes home. I don't think the prosecution has done a great job presenting the case. That's my personal belief. But let me remind you of something. Kyle Rittenhouse unlawfully had a firearm. Let's start there. You don't get to walk around with an unlawful firearm and be an unlawful individual having a firearm. And if somebody tries to lawfully disarm you, you kill them and scream self-defense. It does not work that way. So months ago, Binger, who is the prosecutor, sought to introduce the video as evidence of other acts that he said showed Rittenhouse's state of mind, his willingness or desire to use deadly force to protect property without full information. Schroeder, the judge, said he was strongly leaning toward not allowing it. Oh, that's just too prejudicial. Under Wisconsin statutes, let me remind everyone of this. It's an important dynamic. Under Wisconsin statutes that say anyone under 18 who goes armed with any deadly weapon is already guilty of a Class A misdemeanor, period. Kyle Rittenhouse was 17, was not old enough to legally carry the assault style rifle he had. Rittenhouse could also be in violation of a gun within a gun-free zone, another legal violation if there was one covering, for instance, a school nearby. Also, Illinois law requires anyone, no exception, anyone who owns any kind of firearm in that state to have what's called a firearm owner's identification card, but that is only available to someone 21 years of age or older, another violation of law. The friend of this killer, Kyle Rittenhouse, his name is Dominic Black. Mr. Black was carrying his own semi-automatic rifle in Kenosha that same night. Mr. Black testified that he used Mr. Rittenhouse's money to buy a comparable rifle for him at a hardware store in northern Wisconsin, May of 2020, when Mr. Black was 18, but Mr. Rittenhouse was underage. Guess what happened to Mr. Black? Mr. Black is now charged with 2 felonies because he provided the gun to the underage Mr. Rittenhouse. So you mean to tell me that it's illegal to give Rittenhouse a gun, but it's legal for Rittenhouse to kill 2 people and try to kill a third with that same gun? I'm not following the logic here. And the prosecution needs to step up their aggression because that's the case to make it a home run. Kyle Rittenhouse was an unlawful individual with a firearm unlawfully, period. He created the entire circumstance that led to the murder of 2 people and attempted murder of the third. Not complex here, but the judge is not doing the prosecution any favors. Senator Turner, your thoughts? Mute.
The prosecutor, they need you first of all on that team, just right off the bat. That'll clear that right up, because they need somebody with your chutzpah to go head to head with that judge. Judge acting like Rittenhouse is his son.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how he acting, and you're right. Academy Award winning performance, turned to the judge. Judge said, let's go on, it's time for a recess anyway, let's go on recess. But as you lay it out, Rittenhouse was looking for what happened that night. And unfortunately, because he was looking for trouble, he found trouble, and he caused trouble in the lives of many people, especially the families of the people who were killed. It just doesn't, well, I won't say it don't make sense. This is a pattern in the legal system. And so when we talk about systemic issues that need to be changed within the justice system, this is yet one more example. It reminds me of what happened when the church was shot up, or the people in the church were shot, and they take this roof and take them to Burger King. I mean, they treating these people as if they're not the criminals. They are in fact the criminals. Rittenhouse is a criminal. You already laid out several charges that should be pending against him right now, even before the murder charges.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And also to note, it is illegal in Wisconsin under Wisconsin law to use deadly force in the protection of someone else's property. That's another statutory violation of Rittenhouse. Let me take you to.
They acting like they were playing a video game in some way. The way he was, I rewatched the video of him walking through the crowd. I mean, in some way, they acting like they were playing a video game or something, that there was not going to be a real consequence for their actions.
Yep. And listen, they may have been right, Senator. And that's the irony and the sadness of it all. Let me take you to somebody else who thought they were above the law. Iowa State trooper has been arrested, now facing time for a violent arrest. Let me take you to the video. Here it is.
Nice with you ass. Muscatine 321 in custody.
Let me give you some important background to this. An Iowa State trooper has been indicted for using excessive force on a motorist. This arrest actually happened in 2017. Everything is coming to light now. Robert James Smith pulled over a motorcyclist, exited his vehicle with his gun drawn as the man's hands were up. The cop then bashes the motorcyclist over his bike, which falls, and the officer then drags him to the ground, where he bashed the man's head into the concrete, and then after that placed his knee on the man's neck. On Tuesday, November 16th, 2021, Smith is scheduled to appear in court for indictment charges for violating Bruce Yakish's right to be free from the use of unreasonable force by a law enforcement officer, which led to bodily injury and from willfully depriving his right to be free from unreasonable seizure. The state settled a lawsuit, alleged Smith falsely arrested Yakish and then lied about what happened. That's according to the complaint, all right? Smith said that Mr. Yakish did resist arrest for a routine traffic stop. You saw nothing of the sort on that video. The report said Yakish lost his license because of the arrest. His motorcycle was impounded and he spent the night in jail. The report said the state paid out $225,000 for the incident. That's according to the Gazette. This isn't the first time using excessive force, excuse me, for this cop. An Iowa woman also made an allegation about the same cop using excessive force during an arrest. Smith has now resigned from the Iowa Highway Patrol. Remember, corrupt cops cost you money. Corrupt cops cost you money every single time. It's bad for the ecosystem of government. It's bad for the taxpayers, it's bad for everybody, right? Cedartown Sheriff Warren Wethington released the video in 2019 after announcing he would no longer book any suspects arrested by Trooper Smith at his jail because he could not vouch for the officer's credibility. Prosecutors also dismissed several cases brought by Smith, saying he was no longer a credible witness. What do you see here, Senator?
So glad his pattern of misdeeds have finally caught up with him. Finally caught up with him. You know, in some of my conversations with Attorney General Keith Ellison, talks about what some of the ways that we got to clean up police departments all over this country, law enforcement facilities all over this country. One is getting rid of bad cops, and the other one is prosecuting criminal type cops.
That's right.
And everything else, he said, is icing on the cake. You know, the programming, the training, all of that stuff. That's the extra stuff. But to get rid of people like this particular law enforcement officer, I am really happy that justice is being served in this case and his misdeeds have finally caught up with him.
Very well said. Now let me take you to a sad story. This is in DeKalb County, Georgia. A 1-year-old kid, let's put up the kid's picture, the baby, Blaze Barnett, has been kidnapped okay? It's been more than 24 hours since someone stole an SUV with the 1-year-old Blaze Barnett in the back seat. The kidnapping happened around 1 a.m. on Wednesday outside the family's apartment home on Montreal Road in Clarkston, Georgia. The family told Channel 2 Action News that they were taking in groceries when someone jumped in their Ford Explorer and drove off. Blaze's mother, Deanna Bray, said the SUV theft happened in just 30 seconds. She said, and I quote, "We got home maybe around 1 or 1:06, 1:10 maybe. We dropped our nephew at the house and the stuff that we had, and we came back outside to get my baby. So they take one kid in, they come back to get the baby. But as we came back outside, the car wasn't out there. And he wasn't here," Bray said. The SUV wasn't running. It was unlocked because he was doing a quick trip, so it wasn't like he was in the house for too long, but the keys weren't in the ignition at all. It was in the cup holder. The missing SUV was found. They found the missing SUV after doing a search. This was near Brandon Hill's condos located off of Memorial College Avenue, which is about 1.5 miles from the home. The little boy in the car seat were missing from the scene, and the SUV has been taken to the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigations, to process evidence. Blaze was last seen wearing a green tank top with dinosaur print, a diaper, and a blanket wrapped around his bottom half. His family is extremely worried about him staying warm in the cold temperatures. Let's put up his picture again. I want you to remember what he looks like, okay? Because that child is out there somewhere. Law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, they are working on this. Here's the number to call if you have any information about this 1-year-old child. If you see this child or know any information, you are asked to call the Clarkston Police. Their number is 404-557-8956. And I want to remind everyone that the longer the missing remain missing, the lower the chances are for law enforcement to solve the crime. That's just based on statistical data of crime solve rates for missing children, okay? Senator Turner, I thought it was important to highlight this story because it needs to be national news, there needs to be national attention, and right now it is a very local story.
Yeah, I'm so glad you did, Doc. Just gut-wrenching in every single way.
Yeah, all right. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
So a lot of progressive office holders are doing something fun. I like fun. They're doing the last 2 years in 2 minutes. Okay, we're gonna try it here. First, I wanna let you guys know about the years before that. Hey, remember we started the Just Democrats here on the Young Turks. It was officially launched on our air, basically by you guys. And then we featured AOC, we featured Cori Bush, and Ro Khanna became the first ever Just Democrat incumbent, all on the Young Turks. Now, the last 2 years have been a spectacular follow-up to that. So let's put the 2 minutes on the clock and do this. Young Turks got to start back in 2002, and I think we've been an important part of the progressive movement ever since. What we mainly do is amplify the progressive voice and candidates out there, and I think we've done a pretty good job. Right now, we're currently #1 most engaged news politics network online, beating CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC, all of them. We're #1 in total minutes watched. That means not only the number of people watching, but how long they watch. We just crossed 20 million followers and 500 million monthly views. Now, why? That's because actually the country's progressive. It's 2/3 progressive, and you guys have allowed us to be your voice, and we're incredibly thankful for that. So what did we do with that voice? Well, let's look at 2019. We went all over the country talking to you guys and the candidates. So we were in Miami, we were in Detroit, we were in Houston, and we were in Iowa. In fact, we were all over Iowa. You guys were all over Iowa, and all of the candidates saw you guys. We had wonderful people speaking, like the one and only Nina Turner at our rallies. Bernie Sanders stopped by, Andrew Yang, Elizabeth Warren. We interviewed almost everyone on the campaign trail, with the exception of Biden and Buttigieg. And we held them accountable. We even did a progressive economic pledge, and so many wonderful people signed on to that. Bernie Sanders, Warren, Marianne Williamson, AOC, the entire squad, Justice Democrats, and so many others. Now, on top of all that, we started a show called The Conversation, where we featured so many progressive thinkers, writers, and candidates. And one of the candidates we featured in 2019 was Jamal Bowman. Here comes Jamal Bowman. Then we had an amazing 2020. We hired a climate reporter. Damage Report passed 500,000 subscribers. Young Turks passed 5 million subscribers. We're getting the message out to more and more people. Bernie Sanders comes on in the heat of the primary. He comes on after the election to say what we're going to do for the future. And then Marie Newman wins. Jamal Bowman wins. Cori Bush wins. And then just when you thought it couldn't get any better, here comes Nina Turner. Hello, somebody. And she's running for Congress, and she comes on the Young Turks first. On election week, we had nearly 2 million hours of viewing. We're #1 destination for progressives. You made all that happen. This is amazing, and thank you for those 2 years. What, I went past 2 minutes? Of course!
Viewers had asked for an interview with the TYT Lizard. Mr. Lizard. Oh, you changed colors today. Nice. I don't even know how you feel about us. Do you even like us?
Well, you guys made me this awesome house, so I'm kind of in your debt. I was found outside on the street, and you gave me a home. Granted, it was a really crappy home for a while, but then through the power of fundraising, I became a person who has a multi-level Trump-style mansion.
You do. By the way, you never looked better, man. Normally, you're just green or just brown, but today you're in mid-lizard, right?
I'm not very smart. I'm a lizard, so I don't know how the science works. I guess this is just my mood. It's not every day that thresholds like this are broken. I'm just so excited. I can't contain my pigmentation.
And now you're showing it off.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never seen the lizard like this before.
Welcome back. We got a lot of show left. Let me remind you of a few things because they are important. All right, memberships, right? Memberships right here at TYT. You are part of the change machine. TYT sustains its power because of you. You are the Young Turks. You empower us to fight for positive change in the world. By becoming a TYT member, you'll be part of a change machine that will not stop until we have the world that we desire, okay? Go right now to tyt.com/change, tyt.com/change. Don't forget Power Hour tonight, catch an all new Power Hour with none other than the superhero, Senator Nina Turner, all right? It's live for members after the Young Turks, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Sign up to watch the show and support TYT at tyt.com/join. All right, make that happen. And don't forget, content creators, we're talking to you. All right, if you can write, produce, host, edit short form editorial videos on breaking news and political stories with a progressive point of view, well, we're interested. We would love for you to apply right now at tyt.com/careers. That's tyt.com/careers. Let's go to some of these comments. TOT member Mickey C. the Silverhead Dragon says, skip the Oscars, Dr. Richie. Several prominent acting coaches have already pointed out the flaws in Kyle's performance. Several tells that it's poor acting. I'm not a professional, but I've seen better acting in a second grade play. I have to concur, actually. Ice cream and cake. Why did you put that thought in my mind? Damn. All right. I don't understand how that video is not relevant. This judge is so clearly biased. Yep, clearly biased. I mean, he's not giving the business a little bit to the prosecution, a little bit to the defense. He's giving all the business to the prosecutor. I mean, all of his energy, his aggression to the prosecutor. Eric the Red. So this is 4 years old. So I wonder if there's a statute of limitations on these crimes. How many cops get away with this when it takes so long for the truth to come out in this case? Kyle Rittenhouse actually says, I would laugh as a juror. That's why I can never be one. Yeah. Raja Harris, thank you. What's good, Dr. Rashad? By law, is there anything that can be done about the clearly biased racist judge? We love you, brother. And I love you back. Typically, each state has what's called a judicial review board or judicial qualifying commission, but there's some judicial oversight entity. And they have different rules for different states. Typically, if something is within the jurisdiction or the authority or discretion of a judge, the answer is no. Remember, judges can actually violate the law in their rulings. Let me say that again. Judges can violate the law in their rulings, and nothing punitive will happen to them. That's why you have an entire court to undo illegal rulings. It's called a court of appeals, all right? Bernie, the Kiwi Dragon, I have to agree with Senator Turner. Hashtag hello somebody, Dr. Richie. Were you on the prosecutor's team? You would have single-handedly kept that sorry excuse for a judge on his toes. Oh, he would have been mad at me. He would have been real pissed at me. Jury would not have, because they see I'm fighting for justice here. Forbesilla, hey Doc, love to get a shout out by you for my birthday today. Thank you for continuing to spit straight truth. For Forbesilla, thank you for listening, and happy freaking birthday to you. All right. Child, please stop says, I love you, just please no more crazy Republican guests. I'm so sorry, I can't guarantee that. Brian Taylor, and let me say this before I read Brian's comment. I don't know they're crazy as hell before they come on the show. And let me tell you why. When I say I don't want to presume what you know or believe, I don't try to interview them, do some kind of prerequisite conversation. I don't tell them what they can or cannot say. I don't do any of that. So what you see is what you get, right? And if they come out the gate and they're a little off, hey, so be it. We'll deal with it, okay? As a family, we'll deal with it. Brian Taylor says, I'm here every day. I love your content. I appreciate the stances you take. Bravo, Dr. Richard. Thank you. We appreciate you. Twitch. Jax Drax says, this monster can only fake compassion badly. Yep. I think this is Dringer Dragon. That was a sneezing fit, not crying. It did seem like an allergic reaction to something, didn't it? Yeah. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
You're still free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
The LAPD, help me, can you get these work? Seriously. Can you whip these slaves into submission and get these slaves to do their jobs?
So this person, this individual is racist and live streams about her racism. I mean, she wants to be famous for being racist. You know what we do here. We try to make sure people can reach their goals, dreams, and desires. So we're gonna make sure that she's very famous for being racist, okay? She decided to live stream this. Her name is, she goes by Karen, no joke, Karen Tricialicious. She has multiple racist rants against black people. There's more. Karen was caught on live stream committing some other atrocious acts. I need you to really pay attention to the background of what's happening on this video. Here it is.
What is your problem? Who told you to go downstairs? Get in here. Who told you to leave in the first place?
I told you I was.
I swear to God. Bitch ass. Shut up. I'm gonna tell this Sean. Give me my back, you bitch. Now. Beat your ass, you stupid. Get in your bed and stay in your bed, bitch.
I will, jeez.
Good. You're such a bitch ass. You bitch.
Now, this horrible individual was live streaming. The person who is supposed to be her friend, obviously I use that term lightly and loosely, is autistic, okay? And you saw physical assault happen when he came back into the home and she left her live stream in order to be physically abusive, utilizing homophobic slurs and calling him the N-word. Now, I'm highlighting this person because I want her to see how ugly she is. And I also want other people to see how ugly she is. This is an ugly, ugly person. And you know I'm talking about what's on the inside. How dare you? So maybe exposure would change something about either her demeanor or maybe the people around her. Because if this is how your friend treats you, this is no friend to you at all. Senator, what are your thoughts on this one?
She's a sick individual, really. And I thank God I don't condone violence, because I'm telling you, I'm thinking all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. She's a sick, racist individual. And to also do that to an autistic person, what's her name? Tricialicious?
Tricialicious is what she calls herself.
Yeah, Trisha Vicious is what she is. And she needs to be in jail. And I hope that that person files charges against her. And if they're not old enough, that somebody that is older will file charges on their behalf. That is abuse. It is assault. Yep. And she needs to be in jail.
Very simple. All right, teenagers. You know my thoughts about kids doing racist things. Well, they are beginners. They have to learn it from somewhere. Somebody taught them, okay? Somebody coaches them, guides them. Teenagers dressed as KKK members for Halloween and decided to actually commit a hate crime. I kid you not. 3 high school students in Texas dressed like the Ku Klux Klans and decided to attack a black teen with a taser. Now you have to understand why I'm blaming the parents here. Who do you think allowed them to walk out of the house with a KKK costume? Who do you think did that? Here's the background. Matt Manning, an attorney who represents the victim, said the incident occurred in Woodsboro on October 31st. Manning wrote on Facebook that he was infuriated because I learned from multiple sources that another, even younger victim was terrorized by these depraved menaces that same night. Furthermore, the 3 young men who perpetrated these crimes were apparently still allowed to play in Friday night's Eagle football game against Fall City, Manning wrote. We are demanding an explanation from the Woodsboro High School administration and athletic department on how 3 players could commit an act of terror, hate, and injury, surely known by coaches and administration to have occurred, yet still be afforded the privilege to play football. It is abhorrent, indefensible, and inexcusable, and we demand answers. Let's put up a picture of the KKK outfits again. Let's put it up. We got it? Okay, we'll put it in post. Manning declined to release the identities of the 3 suspects. Just imagine if you were walking around as a kid, as a black kid, and you saw this, right? I mean, not to that extreme, but you saw others in KKK outfits, costumes, whatever you want to call it. Imagine that. And then they start attacking you. This is happening now, right now. Manning declined to release the identities of the 3 suspects or his client because they are all minors. The Woodsboro School District issued a statement saying officials, and catch this, cannot discipline the suspects because the conduct occurred off campus. However, the district said it is cooperating with law enforcement investigation. Now, the district is lying to you. That's a damn lie. The district does have the ability to regulate behavior that has created disruption in school, even if it occurred outside of the school or outside of school hours. I would dare say that having something like this happen outside of the school has caused a disruption inside of the school. The district is lying to you. Okay, Nina, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, amen to that, Doc. You took the words right out of my mouth. And I tell you what, even if I didn't, I would until somebody stopped me.
Yeah.
And the parents, the school, the coaches, everybody, some heads should roll on this. And the fact that they were able to play in a football game after they're terrorizing. And another thing, you know what? This is just not just practicing, but reminiscent of what happened during lynchings. Because the whole damn community was around, men, women, and they brought their children and they took pictures and sold those pictures as postcards. So new day, same stuff. So people don't act like you're shocked and outraged because this has been happening in this country for a very long time and a stop must come. I'm telling you, if I was in control, I'd make some examples of some folks. They probably have to try to get me out of jail.
Whole lot of folks. And remember, Senator, they want us to believe that critical race theory, which is not taught in K through 12 education, is the great evil destroying our American educational system. That's what they want you to believe.
That's what they want us to believe.
We got more, is indisputable. Stick and stay.
You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks.
Ooh.
Now, these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member, go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, JR, a little bit reality show like tyt.com/join, and enjoy this.
You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey, hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitsing right now.
What?
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's JR's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny. Bye. I said it was live stream, but I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members. Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat.
Animals are innocent.
Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing.
I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Jank. Man, you're a Young Turks viewer if you recognize me like this.
Oh, thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, AKA Woke Bay.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there. So I can see Bart.
This is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. Referred to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool, rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT?
Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because there's always got to be a super last thing. Oh, that was disastrous. This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that Black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger Black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it, though.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
All right, welcome back. Let's get to some of these amazing comments. TYT member Just Be Anti-Racist says, sounds like there was a baby in the house. She needs to have that child removed from the house as well. Yep. This is about the Texas teens. Grilled Hot Dog says, to no one's surprise, it happened in Texas. I mean, really, you could almost listen to a story and say, that's Texas, that's Florida. That's Texas, that's Florida. Super chat, racist Karen. Bernie the Kiwi Dragon says, this is domestic violence, arrest her. Texas teens. Darvish says, the culture of white supremacy gets passed down through generations to maintain supremacy. That's right. Ab Happy says, the parents should be arrested for the kiddos in the KKK costumes. Yeah. Nana Nikki says, school districts can suspend and or bar these kids from all extracurricular activities. Plus, I suggest posting their names to bar from scholarships. It should be in a profile, right? A behavioral profile internal to the institution. Twitch, racist Karen, Fiddling Arrow says, soon she'll be running for office. In this environment, yeah. Hayden Whiskey. Well, one of you nice dragons find out where she lives and call the cops on her, please. All right. Gal for 71. These teens should be tried as adults and their parents along with them for hate crimes. Whoa. All right. Phoenix 32778. These kids need to be educated and punished, and with the parents, need to have their children taken away, and they should be locked. Yo, maybe locked up. Okay. I'm gonna try to get through this story, okay? A 10-year-old autistic young lady committed suicide. Let's put up a picture. Her name is Courtney Tanner. The death of a 10-year-old Black girl by suicide has led family and community members to demand a response from her Utah school district, where they say her concerns about bullying were completely ignored. Let me show you a screenshot of the family. The family is destroyed. They're distraught. They're done. Emotionally bankrupt. Okay? Let me give you very important background as to what happened to little Courtney. The girl's mom, her name is Brittany Tishner Cox, said Monday that she had reached out to the Davis School District several times to talk about Isabella, known as Izzy, was being treated by both classmates and her teachers. Mistreatment by both. We just did a damn story on this. Different state, different school, same issue. Through tears, Tishna Cox recounted that the intense abuse of her daughter for being Black and autistic was allowed to continue without intervention. Oh, it gets deeper. Even though my baby is gone, she says, I'm going to make sure I stand for Izzy, Tishna Cox said, with sobs shaking her small frame. I will never get to see her again. I will never. She was 10 years old. She was only 10, she said before burying her face on the table during a news conference. Izzy, who was in the 5th grade, died on Saturday. Her mom, aunt, and grandmother spoke out Monday along with several in the Black community in Utah about the tragedy, which they see as a part of a larger pattern of harassment and discrimination. We have been able to note that pattern right here on Indisputable. Izzy's death comes about 2 weeks after the US Department of Justice issued a scathing report from a lengthy investigation into the Davis School District's serious mishandling of reports of racism. The same school system was under federal review for mishandling claims of racism. Investigators found that the district administrators, we're talking about grown folks, the district administrators intentionally ignored serious and widespread racial harassment in its schools for years, failing to respond to hundreds of reports from Black students after they had been called slaves, the N-word, and heard threats that they would be lynched. Put up a picture. She's dead. She killed herself. To anyone that sees this video, disagree with me politically. Vote for Trump if you want to. But you can't keep saying that systemic racism isn't real. You can't keep saying that. These children are killing themselves. This is one issue we should at least all agree on. This one right here. I do apologize. Very unprofessional. If you know someone who is at risk for self-harm, I want you to make sure that you have at least one opportunity, one lifeline available. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline does provide 24-hour support. 1-800-273-8255. Senator Turner, I'm just done. I'm emotionally done. Tell us your thoughts about this.
Yeah, Doc, you don't have to apologize. This is all kinds of effed up. And for reasons, I can't say the word, but this is all kinds of effed up. Izzy may have died by her own hands, but they killed her.
Yeah.
That school district killed her. Those teachers who ignored the pleas of her mama killed her. And those kids involved killed her. And they parents killed her too. Because there was no way in my mama's house, if she had found out that her kids were acting out like that my mama wouldn't snatch us up. See, mamas used to snatch you up.
Yeah.
Because that kind of behavior would not be tolerated. And if a 10-year-old seeks to take their own life, that means we got a problem. She only been on this earth 10 short years. We have a problem. The collective, we had a problem. So I'm gonna say something. Whoever the superintendent of that district, they need to resign. That principal need to resign. All of them teachers involved need to go. and start this thing all over again. And the feds need to get on up in there and stay up in there, and the state too, because obviously this particular school district should not be under the control of the folks that's controlling it. And my heart goes, it's gut wrenching for a parent to have to bury their own child, and especially after only being on this earth for 10 years. So I'm telling you, there should be some real consequences for this one. No playing games, slaves, lynching. They picking up these patterns and these behaviors because this is part of what America is.
That's right. And that's what we're trying to dissect. That's what we're trying to unravel. And it would be helpful if people would at least engage in good faith debate and discussion rather than political talking points when we have our babies literally committing suicide because America is in fact racist.
It is racist. But you remember Tim Scott after the State of the Union, he gonna say this country ain't racist. And then he was co-signed, let us not forget, by both the president and the vice president of the United States of America, co-signed what this brother said, knowing it's a lie.
That's right, that's right. All right, here's another example of privilege working in the system. Literally, there's a woman who gets probation and community service after trying to run down Black mothers and children while shouting racial slurs. She attempted to commit vehicular homicide. She was trying to kill them. Let's put up a picture. Her name is Rhonda Wozniak, a white woman in Massachusetts. She has now pleaded guilty to driving her car towards and nearly hitting 3 Black women and their 5 children, all while screaming racist remarks at them and telling them, and I quote, "Go back to where they came from." This happened July 2020. Rhonda Wozniak, 61, drove her Ford Escape and 3 Black women and their 5 children as they were walking through the Cookie Monster parking lot. This was in Massachusetts, Swampscott to be exact, nearly hitting all of them. When one of the women asked her to slow down, Wozniak, who was white, shouted racial slurs at them and told them to go back to where they belong, according to court documents. One of the children asked their mother, "Where do we belong?" The children are from 5 to 12, by the way. Wozniak, after doing all of this, trying to run them off the road, shouting racial slurs, pleaded guilty to 8 counts of a civil rights violation and 8 counts of assault with a dangerous weapon, meaning her car, in the Lynn District Court on Tuesday. Prosecutors recommended probation for 1 year. That's a misdemeanor. Probation for 1 year and 100 hours of community service, while the defense requested that the case be continued without a finding for 6 months, and the judge sentenced Wozniak to 9 months of probation, 40 hours of community service. Damn, no time in jail. I mean, she got a lighter sentence than what they were requesting from the judge. So you see how everything is working hand in glove for Ms. Wozniak? Guarantee you, other way around, you have a Black woman in that car trying to run over some white people and their white children, this would not be the sentence. I guarantee you that. Senator, what are your thoughts?
Hey, amen to what you just said, Doc. Again, double standards, quadruple standards in this country, repeating itself over and over again. She's a thug. She's a thug, a hoodlum, a criminal, and she needs to do time in jail.
There's a disturbing trend happening in schools. And remember, these students are a reflection of their parents. Here's the video.
You can rot in hell. You made them leave. You dark ass. Dark ass chocolate bar. Get the out of here. I'm trying to get anybody. Can nobody likes. No one likes it. Nobody likes them. No one likes them. Kill yourself right this time. Do it right. Cut deep enough. Cut deep enough this time. Or tie the rope higher. Like what the bro? Kill yourself.
So this is already out in the public light, so we're running it as is, okay? This video shows 2 Minnesota high school girls responding to the news of a black classmate's attempted suicide. That's what they're responding to, okay? Telling her to do it right next time, calling her the N-word, telling her nobody likes the N-word, right? The girls involved in the message were identified as Jaden Cooley and Jalen Crooks. When the girls say you made them leave, they were referencing 2 of their friends being transferred from school due to their racism being exposed online, and they decided to blame the teens for that. The girl they targeted, her name is Naya, okay? This is one of the saddest things, but it's not the saddest, right? Because we just covered a story of another young girl going through that same issue, killing herself. So let's stop this from happening on this one, right? Let's support Naya. Let's let Naya know she is loved, she is respected, she is honored, she is supported. There's an entire village out here. There's an entire support system out here just waiting for her to connect, okay? The people like that, Naya, those are the people who are ignorant. They cannot stop your success. They cannot stop your light. You have to go beyond them, go past them, move beyond them. Do not allow their comments to stick to you. Let these comments stick to you. You can be whatever you want to be. You are strong, you are powerful, you are brilliant. You can do it. Let those words stick to you, and your haters cannot define you. Senator Turner,
come on.
Let you have the last word.
Come on. You are young, black, and gifted, Naya.
Yes.
And they jealous of you because they ain't you. That's what that's all about. And on all top of that, Doc, there needs to be, again, some consequences and repercussions. I feel like I gotta say this every time that we are together. Minnesota, you got a problem and you need to deal with it. When I came across that on Sean King's feed, my God, I had to stop it, Doc. I couldn't continue to watch it.
Yep.
And now I could not continue to watch that. That girl and her friends that are around her, he and it, they sick. And they doing that now at that age, they'll be doing, if they don't put a stop to it, they'll be doing it in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s. They'll be like that 61-year-old we just talked about like less than 60 seconds ago. Doc, we over this foolishness.
Yeah.
It's a sickness in this country and it must be dealt with.
That's why we highlight these important stories. It's not easy. And I gotta tell everyone, damn it, it is not easy for me to do these stories in our production meetings. When we decide to do these stories, we are intentional about telling you the truth, no matter how much it hurts, okay? So I hope you all can appreciate that. Senator Turner, always a pleasure having you on Indisputable. Thank you, sister.
Thank you, Doc, for what you do.
Absolutely. All right, we have a replay debate today, but it is a doozy, all right? Stick and stay for the bullpen is next.
I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken when I first got my license, like 17 years old or 17, 18, whatever it was. And I'm driving, I think, my dad's Oldsmobile. And I parked it in a place where there was 2 cars next to me, really tight spot, and a car behind me. I don't even know how I got in there because I'm a terrible driver. Back then I was an even worse driver. And on the roads I'm okay, but in parking spots, I have terrible spatial reasoning and I'm a mess. And on my way out, I hit all 3 cars at once. I broke all records, okay? So I went, as I'm backing out, I went boom, oh and this side hit that car, this side hit this car, and the back hit the 3rd car, okay? And I got stuck. I didn't know how to get out. Like, I went, okay, for this, and then I'm like, no, and then, right? And then finally I had to stop, go inside the KFC and go, A, I'm sorry, I hit a bunch of your cars. They're like, what do you mean a bunch of your cars? I'm like, I don't know.
Wow, there's a B?
Yeah. I'm like, I hit 3 cars. I don't know. So you guys gotta come help me, okay? Okay, so one, my bad. Really sorry about that. Okay, number 2, can someone take my car out? Because I don't want to keep hitting your cars, and I'm incapable of taking it out of this spot.
Now, baby, move that fat, baby, move that fat. We thugged out.
Hi, I'm Brett Ehrlich with Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. This is Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. Hi, Brett Ehrlich here. According to EPA head Scott Pruitt, climate change is not happening. He cited a meme on Facebook he saw. When pressed to back up this source, he said it must be accurate because the watermark said it was made by a scientist. So, your move, Truth.
Do all of you know the Young Turks?
An outlet like yourself that are willing to cover this story from the very beginning and that weren't afraid to say, hey, this is something that is legitimate.
And this is why what Cenk and the Young Turks are doing is so important.
Brent Welder is very progressive Democrat. He's a just Democrat. In fact, uncorrupted, not going to take big corporate PAC money. When did you start watching the show and when did you become a member?
So I've been watching for 10 years, an active viewer, but also more importantly, getting out there with causes like Wolfpack.
By the end of our campaign, we had organized about 22,000 individual contributions with an average about $27 a piece. And those initial people were a lot of TYT supporters as well.
In looking at the world in a very different way than corporate media does.
It takes those early people who believe that can really be the seeds of this movement, and that has been the Young Turks.
Thank you, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks.
Thank you to TYT and all the progressives around the country that have our backs.
You know, the first and only interviews that we had tonight to be with the Young Turks as well, because you guys have been here from the very beginning, and that's what this night is all about.
And I thank Cenk very much for the very good work that he does.
Thank you so much for all in this together, and the people are so powerful, and we're gonna get it done.
Thank you for your constant support.
It's a pleasure to be with rebels. I like that.
For all of the help that you've given to the Just Democrats, to Wolfpack, to help fellow progressives, thank you guys, to all the Young Turks members that make it possible.
Hey, this is Edwin. Most of you might recognize me. Well, not me, mostly my laugh from the main show.
I mean, it's gonna be hard to get the Uygur maneuver on him.
And today, my talent is Rubik's Cubes. You gotta forgive me, it's been at least 5 years since I competed. So that's why I'm actually going pretty slow. Watch this.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. In the bullpen today, we have Carrie Sheffield. Ms. Sheffield is a senior fellow at Independent Women's Forum. She has a long, extensive career in broadcasting and reporting, Political and The Hill. She used to be a reporter for. Look up her bio when you get a moment. Ms. Sheffield, thank you for being on Indisputable.
Dr. Richie, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So today we're going to chop it up about CRT, critical race theory. So I do not want to presume what you believe about critical race theory. So let me just ask you, what are your thoughts about critical race theory?
Sure. So I from the very get-go, I just want to say I very much agree that we should teach unvarnished, take no whitewashing of history, truth, honest reconciliation about what our history is in America. And it's true, we have done a horrific job of treating African Americans as slaves. We should not shy away from controversial history, by no means. So I want to put that out there first. We need to go over it all, not just slavery, but also Jim Crow, segregation, all of it. My issue, though, is that I think that CRT takes it a step further and then basically rejects Dr. King's wish, rejects the idea that he said that we should look at each other by the content of our character and not by the color of our skin. And so that's where a lot of people, including myself, are pushing back, at least on the way it's being presented in schools today, which is to divide people based on race. That if you're white, you are inherently, no matter what you do, genetically, you are a suppressor. And if you are Black or Latino, or especially Black or any minority, you are inherently oppressed. I just think that that is toxic, and I think it's gonna trap people, and it's gonna create a paranoia between the races at a time when we need to be coming together.
You know, I really do take offense when people misuse the word and the philosophy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So what you just stated was inaccurate. Dr. King actually believed in the tenet of critical race theory. I will give you an example. Dr. King said that for Black people to gain an economic footing in America, the American government needs to do a massive social program known as universal basic income for Black people only. Why? Because he believed that the issue was no longer the individual racist in America, but in fact the system itself. And the system he was talking about in particular was the system of economy. And he said, in order to correct this system, you can't correct it by white people saying it's okay for you to eat at our restaurants or it's okay for you to stay at our hotels. You literally have to remedy the problem by way of a system approach. Dr. King also said in an interview with NBC after 1964 that his American dream had actually become an American nightmare. He also said, Ms. Sheffield, that he did not believe white Americans were as racist as they were. His popularity during the era that you're talking about was at 6%. The nonviolent Dr. King that you celebrate today, only 6% of white Americans had a favorable view of him. He talked about the system approach as it relates to the military and how the Vietnam War was a war that sent Black people off, Black children off to be slain, when domestically they had no respect at home. So when you take one excerpt from one speech out of context in order to apply it to a macrocosm of his philosophy, it simply doesn't fit. Dr. King believed that many of our challenges in the United States of America could be connected back to a system reality rather than just individual racist people.
Well, this is why I love having dialogues, and I appreciate you having me on your program to talk about this, because yeah, I agree we should absolutely debate. Dr. King is one of my heroes. I've read his books. The very last book, and I agree, you shouldn't just look at one speech. If you look at the very last book that he wrote, he delved into this question, because you said that I am lionizing the peaceful Dr. King. He believed that until his death. He never believed in violence. He never believed in what we're seeing with the rioting and the burning down of predominantly Black neighborhoods by BLM. He rejected that explicitly. In the very last book he wrote before his death, he said that he was suspicious and he was angry and he disagreed. He said, I understand where they're coming from, but it's ultimately flawed. This notion of using violence to achieve your means. He completely rejected it. And that is Sheffield. And so I also want to.
Okay, hold on, wait a minute, ma'am. In all due respect, Ms. Sheffield, number one, we're talking about critical race theory, number one. You just started a whole new conversation about protest, then violence, that does not connect to critical race theory whatsoever. There's no connector there. But since you want to go down that rabbit hole, I can go down that rabbit hole with you. There is nothing violent.
Absolutely, there are many. If you were to ask the BLM rioters, do you support critical race theory? there would be virtually zero people who would disagree with it. So absolutely, that the CRT was developed at elite universities, and it's been used, sadly, but to brainwash elite people to use their megaphones to perpetuate. Like, for example, I think I agree with you that there are white people who created systems that have suppressed Black Americans, and let me tell you who those people are. FDR, who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal. So
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, it's racist policy. But Ms. Shantel, I have limited time on the show. I must address what you've said about violence, that Black Lives Matter, that they are somehow burning down their own cities. See, once again, that's the whole trickery that you all utilize in order to maintain your position. Black Lives Matter as a movement and Black Lives Matter as an organization, they have never burnt down any community. And I will ask you, how many members of Black Lives Matter have been arrested for terrorism? How many?
When you're talking about, I guess it depends.
How many members of Black Lives Matter have been arrested for burning down their own communities? How many members of the group have been arrested for that?
That's called terrorism.
How many members of Black Lives Matter, because you said these are Black Lives Matter protesters engaging in violence. How many of them have been arrested for it?
Minnesota, we're talking about.
How many have been arrested, madam?
If you invite me back, I will give you a detailed list.
Okay, next time have your facts together before you come into the bullpen. The answer is zero. Not one member of Black Lives Matter has ever been arrested for destroying property or burning down a building. However, you have plenty of individuals who were connected to the terrorist attack that took place on January 6th that were connected also to what? Trump campaign, Trump supporters, Trump congressional people, Trump surrogates. Would you like me to blame you for what happened on January 6th? Or would you like me to blame the people that engaged in that activity only? Which one would you like me to do?
The philosophy of critical race theory is trying to pit races against each other.
No.
And that is not a philosophy that
is not correct.
Donald
What is
Trump
critical race
taught.
theory?
It is not a philosophy that I believe.
What is critical race theory?
Critical race theory is a belief that there is inherently oppressors and the oppressed. That no matter what you do, the color of your skin in America will put you in a camp.
That's not what critical race theory teaches.
That's what it teaches. I mean,
no, it does not. I teach, madam, I've been teaching critical race theory before it became a great evil for you all. I've been teaching critical race theory for 5 years. What you just said is inaccurate. That is not what critical race theory teaches. Critical race theory teaches that systems are biased against marginalized people. That's what critical race theory teaches. And you can de-emphasize individual racist people. In other words, according to CRT, if you eliminated most racist people in America, let's say all of a sudden, most racist white people woke up tomorrow and said, I am no longer going to be racist, right? It still would not change the inequity that exists connected to race, because the systems, as you have admitted on my program, the systems that exist are still in place. You admitted critical race theory on my show. You said these systems exist. Critical race theory only says you must analyze these systems so that you can find remedy to these systems. And that is the only way you will start actually creating equitable outcomes. But if you keep focusing on individual racist people without focusing on these systems, you will always have unequal outcomes. That's what it teaches. You agreed to that on this program, madam.
I agree to you that absolutely there are systems that were put in place by white liberal racists like FDR, like LBJ. LBJ was a racist. So it's really sad that the
you want to politicize it.
No, I'm talking about the structures. The structures of.
Who wrote the Constitution? Were those liberals? Were those liberals that told me that I'm 3/5 of a man? Who wrote the Declaration of Independence that said Native Americans are savages? Who wrote that?
The 3/5 of a person was put in place by the North to punish the South because the Southerners wanted to have the full representation, and they said, no, we're punishing you because you have slaves. That's why they put the 3/5 because the Northerners didn't like slavery. The Southerners wanted them to be as close.
Here's the benefit that you have. You have a particular privilege. While you can argue and debate based on the nuances of what political party these folks subscribe to, I'm here telling you that as a black male, I do not give a damn what political party they belong to, because we have racist people that are Democrats, we have racist people that are Republicans, we have racist people that bear no party affiliation whatsoever. So their party affiliation means nothing to me. I'm trying to fight system oppression that exists in the United States of America, system oppression that you agree exists. So the question is, why are you not presenting a remedy to that systematic oppression?
Okay, let me go through, if I can go through some of these policies, because we're in agreement here. And my problem politically, and then I'll get into the systems. Politically, I think it's heartbreaking and tragic that the Democratic Party has used black voters and exploited them to keep the systems in place. Systems, for example, like redlining. FDR, a white liberal, was the one who created redlining. He did it after World War II. And the redlining is the precursor to what we see now, the system of rewarding bad teachers and keeping black and brown students trapped in failing schools. That was a system that was created by white liberals, and it's maintained by white liberals like Joe Biden and the leader of the National Teachers Unions. They're white liberals. Let me tell you another group in Hollywood. The Hollywood executives are white liberals. They donate to Democrats. They're progressive. They don't do, if you're a conservative in Hollywood, you are shut out. But guess who profits off the exploitation of black men and black women in Hollywood? White liberals. They're the ones who are creating the stereotypes of black men as criminals, of black women. They're the ones who profit all of this. So
let me ask you a question.
Let me tell you another system.
Okay, let me, ma'am, I don't have unlimited time. You got to make your points and then allow me to respond. As I said before, I could care less about their party affiliation. I put my foot up a Democrat as soon as I will put it up a Republican. So you got the wrong guy for that. I'm an equal opportunity individual. So let's be very clear about what you're saying.
Because most black voters, sadly, are not. They're being deceived by the Democrats.
Well, let me explain to you why black. I'm glad you brought that up. Let me explain to you why most black voters do vote for Democrats. When you take an analysis over the last 30 years of Democratic presidents versus Republican presidents, unemployment decreases significantly under Democratic presidents, and it actually goes up under Republican presidents by 2%. When you look at household median income increases by roughly $1,000 per year under Democratic presidents, and it actually goes the other way, goes in the opposite direction under Republican presidents. Under Democratic presidents, access to higher education increases, more black people go to college, more black people graduate from high school, more black people are able to get involved in trade and skills that are paid for and subsidized through government grants and programs. The question would be, why would black folks not vote for Democrats when they win economically, socially, politically, and educationally under their systems or under their policies? That is the reality. Those are facts that black people historically win under Democratic leadership more so than under Republican leadership. Now, does that mean Democrats do it all correctly? Hell no. No, there are plenty that Democrats should do more of. But I challenge you to name one policy that has changed the outcome of black Americans in the United States of America that currently is being championed by a Republican.
Absolutely. Well, if you look at the first 3 years of the Trump administration, because the fourth year was the wild card with the pandemic. For the first 3 years, and I believe this is why black men and black women both increased their vote for Trump from 2016 to 2020. That's a fact. Yeah. Not only black voters, Latino voters, and Asian voters increased their margin for President Trump, because throughout the COVID year, because that was a wild card, a 1 in 100 year event. The first 3 years, we actually saw the record-shattering wealth for black Americans, wage increase for black Americans, business ownership for black Americans. So the policies themselves that Republicans through the tax plan, and we know the businesses who were hiring these black and minority workers, they said they credited the tax plan that the Republicans passed for them to be able to hire more workers. So that's a big thing. Another, you mentioned education. President Trump signed permanent support for HBCUs. Every year, under Democrats and Republicans, they had to come back and ask for more. But President Trump ensured that that would be in perpetuity in place, that funding that deserves to be in funding. So there's that. And also on the issue of immigration, I spoke to the niece of Martin Luther King, Alveda King. She said that what President Trump was doing on immigration, that it was helping black workers. He said that she said that protecting our borders, it's a human right. It's a human right for black US citizens or any US citizen to be protected against illegal workers who are coming in and flooding the market with illegal labor that suppresses the wages.
Allow me to respond. I will tackle the HBCU comment first. I'm a graduate of an HBCU. I lecture at an HBCU. You're incorrect about what Donald Trump actually did to impact HBCUs. Now, I will also say, to qualify my content, I will also say that President Barack Obama was no friend to HBCUs in comparison. All right, I will say that clearly, and I said it during his administration. What Donald Trump did was de facto defund HBCUs. He signed a proclamation that never got funded because he never fought for it in the budget. It never increased the overall budget of HBCUs. He then defunded HBCUs by proposing from the White House budget the elimination of something called the federal TRIO program. Many people did not pick up on this because a lot of folks don't know what the federal TRIO program is. The federal TRIO program is a federal subsidy for what's called educational talent search and upward bound. Those programs are utilized in communities, primarily urban communities, where you have individuals who are trying to become first-time college students in their families. It is a lifeline between HBCUs and depressed communities all across America. He proposed to defund that program every single time, eliminating and reducing significantly the budget for HBCUs for that particular federal grant. That is a fact. Let me go to the employment issue. You talk about massive employment. The truth is the employment trajectory was moving in the right direction under President Barack Obama. And under President Barack Obama, you had more employment. It was a history record setting employment increase under President Barack Obama, and Donald Trump maintained the numbers, but then something happened in the job market. The Trump administration started using what's called a U3 rating system rather than a U6 rating system to talk about their job numbers. Not many people discuss it. A U3 rating system says if you work for 1 hour in this one survey month, the administration is going to count you as employed. A U6 rating system provides context to those numbers and says, if you work 1 hour, we're not saying you're employed, we're counting that as 1 hour of contract work. The U6 rating system contextualizes the data so that you know who has a seasonal job, who has a job that pays the bills, or who has a job that is a contract job that really they're not working any hours. But they did a trickaroo. They used a U3 rating system and then decided to proclaim that they were somehow fixing the jobs economy, and they were not. Here's the other reality under Donald Trump. More black people were having to work multiple jobs in order to make ends meet. In addition to that, household median income fell under Donald Trump, and also home ownership with African Americans fell under the presidency of Donald Trump. And black people started to make less per dollar than their white counterparts for the same job with similar background and experience because the DOJ refused to prosecute open discrimination at major companies all across the country. So now you have black folks that were making up to 80% on the dollar of their white counterparts. It dropped down dramatically because of the DOJ's policy. So that's not a win for black people, but it is a way that it is the way that Trump used it in order to promote his numbers. Third, let's talk about immigration. I'm glad you brought up immigration. Brown folks are not my enemy. You see, brown folks have never been the enemy of black folks. The #1 job destroyer in the United States of America is automation. Automation is the #1 job destroyer. But we don't talk about automation. We talk about poor immigrants. Well, explain this to me, Ms. Sheffield. Explain this to me. The same federal law that says it is against the law to work undocumented in the United States. That same federal law has a subsection that says it's against the law to hire them. So why do I see 600 brown workers being arrested at a warehouse, but I don't see the CEO being taken away in handcuffs? I don't see the hiring manager being taken away in handcuffs. I don't see the HR director being taken away in handcuffs. Why is it that I'm only seeing the people who are doing the daily labor being taken away in handcuffs when it's a violation of the same federal law?
Hey, I'm with you. These employers should not be hiring them, and they should be punished to the full extent. You and I are very much in agreement with that, absolutely. And the other issue, and I really appreciate that we're responding and we're having a dialogue about substance, because this doesn't happen. So I just want to thank you. So, but in terms of, like I said, go to the HBCU presidents themselves. There was statement after statement. And so, yes, there might be some specific issues that you took that deserve attention, but overall, that you heard from the leaders themselves, they were very grateful. And also the voters themselves, again, don't take my word for it. Look at the Black and Latino and Asian voters who voted for Trump at higher numbers than before, in record levels for the GOP. And look, it's nothing to write home about for the GOP. They have a lot more work to do, but I want to talk about a few other policies. That includes criminal justice reform, the First Step Act, that over 90%
Well, let's do this. I'm running out of time, but I do need to point out that Mitt Romney got more black votes than Donald Trump. So you can't just say, oh, Trump magically had more black people.
No, Trump got a higher percentage both in 16 and 20 than Romney.
I checked that. I checked the data on that.
Yeah,
say that again.
I wrote about this for CNN and other places. Romney only got 5% in 12, and I believe it was 6% for. It was definitely higher for Trump in 16.
So you're saying?
Went up.
Okay, so Biden. I'm sorry, not Biden, but Romney got 5% from black folks, and you're saying Trump got 6% from black people.
Yeah, again, it's not things to write home about.
All right, I'll check it. Yeah, but go ahead. We got 2 minutes. I want you to have the final word. Go ahead.
Thanks, Doctor. Well, so as I was saying, it's not just the other issues we're talking about. The campus assault reform. So Obama put in these things that denied due process when anyone on a college campus is accused of sexual assault. And Trump said, we're not going to let that happen. And the #1 benefactor, according to a study of what Trump did on college campuses for people who are accused of sexual assault, it benefited young black men to allow them to have justice brought to them, because it's sort of the similar. I had one leader tell me that what was happening on college campuses, they ended up targeting young black men. It was like a Jim Crow era type.
All right,
policy.
we have 1 minute. Ms. Sheffield, can you explain to me quickly why the Trump administration decided to defund re-entry programs, halfway houses, and took away the Pell Grant program inside of prisons that absolutely helped individuals not engage in recidivism after release?
Well, I'd have to look at the specific details of that. I do know overall that recidivism and the First Step Act, and looking at what Trump did and his people, Jerron Smith, who's a friend of mine there, he worked with groups all over the spectrum. He worked with my friends with a number of civil rights organizations, and Jones. They were for this. So I'd have to look at the specifics of what you're talking about, but I do know.
And that's fair.
That it was something that was very much supported by many leaders on both sides of the aisle.
Absolutely. And I wish they would have completed it by making sure the other variables, the wraparound services were in place as well. You can't take 1 step forward and then take 10 steps back on the policy and tell me it's a good thing. 0.02%, less than 1% of the black population was impacted by the First Step Act. That's just to provide some context. Ms. Sheffield, it's been a pleasure to have you on Indisputable. Thank you.
Thank you.